Welcome to Partner Connection. I am Cameron DeBrew. I'm the pastor of Beulah Baptist Church and will serve as the host of this video series. Partner Connection is a platform where we can connect with our many ministry partners around the world and here at home so that they can share ministry updates, personal stories, and prayer requests. Thank you for watching and thank you for your faithfulness in partnering with God's people to grow His kingdom. I hope you enjoy this episode of Partner Connection. Well, welcome to this edition of Partner Connection. I'm excited today to be joined by Hans and Brandy Ostrem. I met Hans and Brandy when they were serving as church planters in Toronto, Canada. About 5 years ago, I began praying for missionaries from South Carolina that were serving with the International Mission Board or with the North American Mission Board. And I reached out to Hans, and we had an immediate kinship, and we began to explore ways that we could partner with their work. I attended several conferences in South Carolina where he was a guest speaker, and through those events, our friendship and our partnership has grown. Hans and Brandy have been in our worship services here at Beulah on several occasions, and we have sent 2 teams to Toronto to minister alongside of them. Hans serves as the executive director of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes Canada. Hans and Brandy have served in different ministry roles over the last 12 years, including previously serving with the International Mission Board in North Africa and in the Middle East. In 2014, God moved them to Toronto to serve with the North American Mission Board as evangelism catalyst. During this time, God also used them to launch a sports ministry network that helps Canadian churches launch evangelic sports outreaches to their community. Together with his wife, Brandy, they have 4 children, Alexis, Christopher, Rowan, and Erickson. Guys, welcome. We are glad to see your faces and so glad to hear from you.
It's so good to see you. We were hoping to be down this summer in South Carolina, but as you know, the borders are closed. So that has limited us, and we are here.
So we were actually supposed to have a team on ground this week with you. So we are sorry that didn't work out. So just tell us a little bit. I mentioned that our relationship began as I was praying for folks from South Carolina. Tell us a little bit about your roots and where you're from and listening to Hans, it doesn't sound like he's from South Carolina, but you do.
Yeah, well, so I'm actually from Alabama, from the Gulf Coast, but my parents moved to Aiken when I was a kid. So I grew up in Aiken, pretty close to you guys, and that's where I graduated, went to school at North Greenville, and got a degree in intercultural studies, and that's where we met. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's where my roots are. Both of our parents are still in South Carolina right now.
Yeah, and so I was born in Spartanburg, and to parents who came to the United States, and but we and my parents retired just recently from the mission field, and they settled back in Spartanburg, and so we do have very strong roots there and great connections, and we've loved our time and met at North Greenville and felt God's call to foreign missions, and the story just went from there.
So tell us about your children.
So yes, we have 4 kids. Our oldest is 10, and then we have one that just turned 8 a couple of weeks ago, one that will be 6 in a couple of weeks, and a 4-year-old.
Wow. They
are very energetic kids, great kids. We homeschool, and yeah, COVID's been a lot of fun with them.
Yes.
It really has. It's amazing how much you pick up and learn from your kids when you're around them all day, every day. For a lot of weeks, and we've joked about how it's been stressful, but it's also been incredible just to really see how God's working in them, and their faith when our faith started to waver, their faith and trust that God had a plan through this time, and so it's been it's had its downs as well, for sure, but it's really been a neat time of just family connection too.
Great. Well, there are some folks, again, that are just meeting you. And so let me take you back a few months pre-COVID. Can we talk about last summer? What your kind of your daily schedule was, what your sports camps were, what you were doing in your community, and then we'll get to today a little later. But tell us about how things were in your ministry prior to this pandemic.
Well, and you know, as you talked a little bit about our history and some of the things that God allowed us to do, serving overseas, and you know, just really gaining a heart for the nations, and seeing and living in Muslim settings, and developing such a burden to want them to know Jesus. And as God moved us from there back to North America, as you said, we got to work with churches and helping them strategize, and that led to starting a sports ministry here in Canada. And so, you know, for the last since 2016, that's what we've done is be able to help churches start a sports outreach that would open the door for the gospel. The unique part of Canada, you know, our population across country, you know, 30 plus million people across the whole of Canada. It's not a large population, right? And but you know, within that, you know, 5 to 8% would identify as followers of Jesus. And so, you know, we were amidst an amazing lost population. And so helping churches strategize by using sport, which is a language that connects everyone. And we've seen God do amazing things. And so pre-COVID, for the last, you know, several years, you know, we've been able to have leagues and programs going on all year round. We've been able to have these amazing summer programs that God has been gracious, where 80% of the kids of the thousands of athletes that attend our summer programs are come from other major world religions. They're Muslims, they're Hindus, they're Buddhists, and they knew we were a Christian evangelical organization, but they still came. And so we've just seen amazing things happen in the past years where God has moved through sport, through a soccer ball, through teams coming up from the U.S. like you, and coming up and spending time here and investing in these lives. And sometimes in the summer, that's the first touch of the gospel. That's the first interaction. And then we get to maybe sometimes be the second. And then we get to help those local churches, though, be the third and consistent, as we help those local churches build relationships with those athletes and coaches. And that's just been our heart pre-COVID, and just seeing God work in some amazing ways.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's interesting that you mentioned you being able to connect the community to local churches. I appreciate so much you connecting our church with some local churches there, so that our partnership through our relationship with Hans and Brandy has expanded because of our relationship and us being able to partner alongside of those local churches that are in your area. And that has been a blessing for us. As a matter of fact, one of our interviews will be with Pastor Steve, and we're looking forward to speaking with him and seeing how they're doing. So tell us what you're doing now that you don't have the thousands of kids and you don't have the ability to do what you were doing. What does your ministry look like this summer?
Well, I mean, going back to March, you know, it was tough. You know, we had these March break, which would be your kind of spring break, you know, camps planned and activities, and people paid and registered. And, you know, when COVID hits, we had to cancel
everything
those.
was canceled.
Yeah. And so
we had t-shirts already printed up and everything.
We do. They're still in a box in storage now. They say a March break 2020. So if you'd like one, you can purchase them. But it really rocked our world in a lot of ways. And so, you know, and especially now that we are FCA, you know, when we first started the sports ministry years ago, it was under a different name and branding, and the FCA asked us to join them, and asked me to take this role of being the executive director for Canada. And so it's been just such a neat journey and richness in that. And so we're still new and coming into being a part of FCA and growing that branding, growing that relationship here with that name. And then when this COVID hit, it was tough. And our basketball league was probably our saddest. Our oldest son played in it, and they had just gotten to the point in their practices where they were going to start having games. And I know our son was so excited. And then COVID hit, and everybody went into lockdown, our entire country, and that was hard. And I have to speak so highly of our staff here, because it has nothing to do with me, but our staff didn't skip a beat. We found out week one here that everything was locked down. By week two, they had our basketball programs going virtual. We had all these little screens on the computers, a virtual basketball league. And you would think that the students would find that boring, but they got to exercise and fellowship, and they did that for 9 weeks straight. And even during that time, would you believe it, 2 of those athletes came to faith in Jesus during online virtual basketball. That brought us to the summer, which is really tough for us, even emotional for us, because we look forward to that engagement all year. We prep our local churches and we work with them. And this summer we were running, I don't even remember how many, 60 something summer camps, I think, that were on the books, and with local churches scattered all across Ontario. And we were so excited for what God was going to do. And with COVID, God changed things up a bit. The engagement looked different. But wouldn't you know it, God's still doing incredible things. We launched on Monday, the first week of virtual summer camp. And so we've got student athletes and coaches joining in now, and virtually they're playing some sports and they're doing some games, and our kids are involved. And today they had a scavenger hunt. So I was in the middle of a Zoom meeting and my kids busted in because they had to find a roll of toilet paper for the scavenger hunt. But it's engagement has looked different during COVID. But incredible things are happening. And we've got 2 more weeks of virtual summer camp. And then we've got some other programs that we're praying about being able to open in August and September. And so even amidst what would look like a worst case scenario, we're still seeing a God that's moving and opening doors for the gospel to be shared.
And it's kind of different too, because at camps, normally it was just kids that we were able to share with. But now the gospel is being presented over the speakers of the computer. So others in the household are also hearing.
That's true.
So it's been really neat to see the reach.
I mean, even in these virtual summer camps, it's only 3 days in, but yeah, we've seen parents sitting there listening to the Bible story, listening to the memory verse their kids are reciting, and that's pretty exciting, and something that we never expected, but something God did, right?
Yeah, and I can speak for the local church that it has thrown us into an unknown as well. We are trying to figure out, how we stay connected, how we minister to our community with all this social distancing and things. So our ministries has changed a lot, and so we can certainly feel the love for that. And this virtual basketball, I wish that was around when I was a kid, because I think I could dominate virtual basketball. I just think that I'm built for that. Yeah. So you've kind of mentioned that, and you kind of answered my next question, but how can we specifically pray for you? Maybe that's personally, maybe that's through FCA Canada, there was a way that we kind of knew how to partner with you pre-COVID. How can we partner with you right now? How can we partner with you in the future, or churches like us? How can local communities and local churches partner with you, and how can we specifically pray for you?
Yeah, and I so thank you for that question. And praying for God to continue to move in this ministry and open doors is always number one for us. And long ago, Brandy and I recognized, going back to what we were talking about, and our passion and desire to connect local churches to their communities here, and even U.S. churches to the local churches for encouragement is, we recognize that we're nothing, right? But that God called us to this role of catalytic ministry and being catalysts, but just praying that God would keep opening doors for these connections to take place, and another big one for the ministry. I'll let Brandy speak to our family here, but is pray for finances. It really is, and I know everyone's asking prayer for that, and we serve a big God who can move mountains, and we know that, and we trust Him in all. And not having the revenue generation from all these thousands of summer campers and other things and other programs, it has taken a big hit, and our staff has really felt that. And but they haven't skipped a beat. As I said before, our staff is resolved more now than probably ever before to work as diligently and as hard as they can to make sure the gospel goes out. And so we're constantly just asking and seeking the Lord that He would provide for that and bless their efforts in this team. And we have a lot of exciting plans. Don't know if we'll be able to do them all with COVID or not. But praying that God would just supply those resources, those finances to be able to do that. And then for our family,
I think it's just perseverance. This has been ongoing now, I guess, since March. I know you guys are feeling the effects of it there. We have been in lockdown for a lot longer. Only in the past couple of weeks have things started opening up, including like outside things. So perseverance in the fact that our kids are really starting to miss other children. We still haven't made it to that point yet. With our son's autoimmune, we have to be extra careful. But I don't know, it's hard because even though we homeschool, they still look forward to seeing those friends. And we were just told that all of our co-op programs are halted until at least December. So just trying to tell them that, and just, they're ready to go do some things, and it's hard sometimes as parents to help them to see that, things are still closed or we can't do that yet, when really we're longing to do the same things. So I think, perseverance, but it's been neat. Like Hans said, they've grown a lot. We've really seen them mature in their faith. And I didn't know 4-year-olds could ask such deep theological questions. So it's been really a journey with them. Very thankful.
Well, I can assure you that this congregation will be praying for you. We miss seeing you, and we're sorry that our team was not able to be there with you. Thankfully, we are a little bit ahead of you guys. We are beginning to open up, and we are beginning to be able to do some things, and our children are able to be with other children and those kinds of things. So we pray that comes to you quickly because you guys don't have as much good weather as we do, and so you need to enjoy the good weather while you have it. I understand. But Hans and Brandy, thank you so much for being with us. It's so good to see your faces. It's so good to hear the update that you've given us. And I just want to let you know that this congregation loves you, and we are supporting you in any way that we can.
Thank you so much. We love you guys.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Partner Connection.